It's just another lie. Like, how did we get here? Let's extinguish him for good. We have an answer. We have a remarkably talented candidate who is sincere, who's pragmatic, who's open. Let's just get it done.
Yes, that's Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, a former Democrat governor, now a member of the Joe Biden cabinet, saying President Trump must be extinguished. Extinguished. I think I know what that word means. Do you think she knows what that? I looked her up. She's Harvard and Yale, which really doesn't mean anything at all. But when it comes to intelligence, IQ, capabilities, absolutely nothing. One of the things I've learned after many years in Washington, D.C., full of Ivy League wankers and Twinkies and Harvard, Yale, turns out their dads got them in. You know, with a lot of money and private tutors, and you don't really have to be particularly smart. And then once you get there, it's hard to flunk out. Remarkable times we are in. Happy Thursday to you, and welcome back. We continue to be at 888-630-9625. As the 888 indicates, that's absolutely toll-free. In an era where everything is toll-free, isn't it? I think anywhere you call in the United States, it's a bundled package. Isn't that remarkable? The Democrats, as you know, are devout racists. They're segregationists. They're the party of Jefferson Davis and the Confederate States of America and Jim Crow and all of that. Joe Biden didn't want his kids going to school in a racial jungle. Joe Biden made certain types of cocaine more illegal than other types of cocaine. The ones found commonly in his household, less illegal than the types of cocaine not commonly found in his household. Kind of a Freudian issue that Hunter had might explain why he shifted over to crack, because, he's got issues with his father, daddy issues big time. But as racist as they are, they continue to reinforce this obvious truth that they're horrible racists because they just want to keep the Democrat Party traditions alive. Is that right? I think that's right. They don't want their own traditions, their traditions hanging from a tree. That's not what they're into. But listen to this, because here's today's installment of The Democrats Are Racist. We should maybe make this a daily topic. The Democrats are racist. And then today's story about the Democrats being racists, because they prove to be racist every day. The Daily Caller and the Daily Caller News Foundation, they have the story. Walz administration. Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota. He's the governor of Minnesota. Walz administration to hold racially segregated retreat for BIPOC librarians. People like to say you can't make this stuff. You don't have to make it up because they make it up. They do it, and these are actual things that they do. Now, what is BIPOC? BIPOC is a racist term that the racists use in a partially racist country. And the racist country is the United States of America, where Democrats are in charge. And the history of racism in America is the history of the Democratic Party. It's the same thing. I'm working on the 1861 project. It's going to start with the Democrat Party firing on Fort Sumter and starting the first Civil War. I've taken to calling it the first Civil War because the way the Democrats are behaving again. But the BIPOC librarians. Now, what is a BIPOC? What are BIPOC librarians, right? Now, BIPOC is an acronym that the Democrats have created because they're such racists, and it's black. That's the black, and then I is indigenous, and then POC is just people of color. They love POC, and when it's a female POC, that's a WOC, a wok, which is also a Chinese cooking implement, but that's another thing altogether. So the BIPOC is something that they love to use to racially segregate our country. That BIPOC includes everybody except who? Everybody except who? So if you're black, so black people are included. Indigenous people are included, right? And then people of color Now, who are people of color? Practically everybody that they say is a person of color. People from India who are Indians. They're not indigenous, but they're people of color. They're Caucasians, by the way, when it comes to racial breakdown. But never mind that. Arabs are people of color. Latinos, or Latinx, as Joe Biden likes to say, because he likes to strip them of their language and of gender. So he says Latinx because they spell it Latinx. They don't want Latino and Latina because that refers to gender, and they don't believe in gender anymore because they're sexually disturbed, sexually mentally ill. But let me get back to the story. Minnesota State Library Services, under the Democratic governor, Tim Walz, and his gubernatorial administration, he's the governor, plans to use public funds to pay for a retreat intended exclusively for BIPOC librarians. Librarians. How about police? Why don't we have just BIPOC police? So the black, indigenous, people of color. Now, who's not included in BIPOC? Who's left out? Are Latinos? No. How about Asians? Are Asians? Oh, Asians are BIPOC. They're people of color. So who's not BIPOC? Oh, Anglo-European Caucasians. That's it. Now, I mean, again, Latinx people, or Latinx, as Joe likes to say, their roots are European roots, Spanish roots, right? So they come from European roots, but they've decided that because they're Latin, that they're not Anglo-European Caucasian. So they're excluding, based on their race and ethnicity, Anglo-European Caucasians and nobody else. Everybody else is included because the filthy lynch mob, horseback, torch-carrying, rope-slinging lynch mob Democrat Party. You can look at the Tuskegee Institute website. Last time I looked anyway, they had a very good section on lynching in America. And they don't want to say it's all Democrats, but it's all Democrats, the history of lynching in America. So here they come. And now the BIPOC librarians, and only BIPOC librarians. It also discriminates against people who aren't librarians. I just want to point that out. So you can be a state employee but not a librarian. You can't go. If you are a librarian, you can go unless you're white. Then you're excluded because I heard screaming and bullwhips cracking and how long, Southern man, honestly. So the documents obtained exclusively by the Daily Caller and the Daily Caller News Foundation found that the Tim Walz administration describes the event, which will take place in the month of October, as, quote, a day of professional development and network building designed specifically for BIPOC library workers of Minnesota. I think it's probably unconstitutional and illegal, but the Democrats don't care because they'll burn the police cars and loot your business and then call your children sex workers because they like children and sex. Joe Biden is sniffing them and all that stuff. So the registration page explains that it's specifically for BIPOC library workers. Minnesota will use public funds to cover hotel lodging, because you might have to come in from around the state. You got to stay at a hotel. Maybe some BIPOC sex workers will be brought in, because you know how they like that. And we're going to pay for hotel lodging and meals and for other fees for those attending the BIPOC program, the state document shows. And then they explain at the Daily Caller, BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. Sign-up form from the event allows those seeking to attend the program to select from an assortment of races and sexualities to describe themselves. You can describe yourself as a lot of things except heterosexual and white. They're missing from the options available on the sign-up page. You can check your ethnicity and your race, but white is not a choice. So you can't check white because that means you're not welcome. And if you're heterosexual, apparently they got BIPOC, LGBTQ, QIA+, because heterosexual is not a choice either because they're racists. And heterosexuality is a race, as everybody knows. Just like Muslim is a race, because, the Democrat Party is mentally ill and dangerous to civilization itself, dangerous to our culture. Our culture, Western civilization, is under assault. The Enlightenment is under assault. The left is here, and they're demented. They're mentally ill. They're racist, and they have a lot of sexual issues. Nicole Cook, a professor of library and information science at the University of South Carolina, is booked as a keynote speaker for the event, according to the agenda outline that was obtained by the Daily Caller News Foundation. Cook has argued that it is tantamount to malpractice to allow students to enter the workforce without first being educated on diversity, equity, and inclusion and social justice. In 2017, she received a grant, taxpayer money, to study racial microaggressions in libraries. That's a fairly narrow field of study, wouldn't you say? That's in libraries, really. How about in the parking lots of libraries? Do those apply? According to a press release, the professor has a long history of giving presentations on the importance of center racial justice and diversity. See, that's a topic that these people discuss when managing libraries. According to her personal website, she has a personal website. She should be banned from the internet, don't you think? And probably, I think, as a representative of the patriarchy here right now, she should be deprived of electricity for the rest of her life. The patriarchy provides electricity. You're welcome. And we had a meeting last night on a Zoom call. Decided to deprive her of electricity for the rest of her life. That's probably good. And no more fossil fuels either. No more fossil fuels for you. So anti-racism is part of a framework first coined by left-wing academic Ibram X. Kendi. Ibram X. Kendi, he's a racist, a devout racist. He hates the whites and America, too. That holds that anyone not actively resisting what he identifies to be racist is a racist. Sure, it's impossible to be neutral on the issue of racism, according to Ibram X. Kendi, who's a hero of the left. Pretty amazing stuff. Yes, sir. You betcha. And the Minnesota State Libraries is directed as a department by Tamara Lee. And she's got a LinkedIn profile that says she's passionate about early literacy and racial equity in libraries. Why don't you guys stop being racist and then, gosh, racism would go away. I remember when you guys weren't as racist as this, but now you're the most racists in the pantheon of racists. I feel like Kamala Harris. I got 3 racists in one sentence. What did she have today? 3 times? She had holistics. Yeah, it's like I'm using racist like she uses holistic. Holistic. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. She, the head of the libraries in 2021, wrote a piece in Information Today where she argued that niceness being nice, is, quote, a tool of white supremacy. That could be true, actually. I like being nice to people, don't you? I didn't realize that was a white thing. I got an idea for Democrats. Stop shooting people. How about that? Stop shooting people. So many people would not be shot if you guys didn't shoot them. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, so niceness is a tool of white supremacy. I think that they should be at home and not collecting a taxpayer paycheck, taxpayer-funded paycheck. Pretty amazing stuff. These people, can I just say, these people. That's your Democrat Party. Today in racism, thanks to the Democrat Party. They couldn't be more racist if they set out to be more racist. Their history is racist. Their present is racist. I'm going to go ahead and suggest that their future is probably racist too, given what we know about them thus far. Wah, wah, wah. You know that football season is here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action while watching your football. The app is incredibly easy to use, simple to use. You just pick 2 or more players across any sport. You pick more or less, you know how this works, on their projections, and you can win up to 100 times your money back, 100 times. And all withdrawals are secure, they're fast, they're safe. You're going to like them. Not only that, but Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy app with injury insurance. Injury insurance? What's that? Well, if one of your players goes down in the first half of play, Prize Picks does not count it as a loss against you. So you download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code PLANT, P-L-A-N-T, looks like a potted plant, but with an extra vowel on the end. And you're going to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's the code PLANT at Prize Picks, Prize Picks, to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus either. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. You got to be present in certain states to play on account of laws and stuff. Visit prizepicks.com for details and restrictions. Yes, sir. The Democrats, they never disappoint, do they? I've got President Trump coming up. He had a few things to say about what Kamala Harris is saying when she speaks, and she tees up the satire. President Trump just swats it. All right, let's become telephonic. Let's go to the telephones. Let's talk to Marshall calling from Wilmington, North Carolina. Marshall, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Couldn't be better.
So I was wondering, I guess I can get two topics in.
Sure.
So would an albino be able to go to that POC meeting you were talking about? Because there's a famous reggae guy whose both parents are black, but if he happened to join up and be a librarian, would he be able to get albino?
I think we'd have to take that to the Central Committee and ask the Central Committee for a ruling on that.
How long do you think that would take to pass?
Well, with Democrats and their tiny little squirrel-like brains, it could take a long time. I'll tell you what, I saw you on the big board there, Marshall, and I Googled African-American albino, and it autofilled albinism. And there's an NPR story, people of color with albinism, meaning albinos, ask, where do I belong? And we're going to have to go to the Democrat Party for a verdict, for a ruling on that, as you point out, Marshall.
And one more thing. So if the Democrat Party isn't racist, how come they stopped showing Asians getting beat up in New York by people of color?
Well, that's a complex. They like to use the word nuanced in a circumstance like that. They think they're very nuanced.
I forgot about that word.
Yeah, nuanced.
I completely forgot about nuance.
Yeah, I understand. It's easy. It's easy to lose sight of nuance when the Democrats say, you're right. And they stopped talking about Asians being attacked because they kept hoping that, it was going to be a Juicy Smollett moment with some MAGA hat-wearing white racists doing it. But it turns out it was all black male Democrats, so they had to stop talking about it because it would be racist to keep talking about it. Michael and I were talking during the break, and Jasmine, the wonderful Jasmine, is here today producing. If you call in, you'll have the privilege of speaking with Jasmine. And we were just having a little discussion in the studio that we should have every day the Democrat Party's racist moment of the day. Today, that was a great one, I've got to say. Because the Democrats, they love segregation. They're the party of segregation in the old days, Democrat Governor Orville Faubus standing in the schoolhouse door at Central High in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957 when Republican President Dwight Eisenhower had to send the 101st Airborne down there to move the corpulent Democrat governor out of the doorway so that African-American students could attend. And Democrat Governor George Wallace standing in the schoolhouse door. That was a university, not high school. And that's the Democrats. And the Sheriff Bull Connor, an elected Democrat with the fire hoses and the dogs, the Democrats. If only we should teach about the Democrat Party in schools. It should be part of civics class, except they don't have civics class anymore, do they? No, they don't. Womp, womp, womp. Yeah, but that's a great story. The racially segregated librarian meeting. Now, should we stereotype librarians as being because they're calling in racist librarians from out of state to speak at this thing, And they love segregation, the Democrats, and the bullwhip, and the rope. All right, so much to get to. Let's get back to the many things that we have. Well, we still have to get to Eric Adams, the Democrat mayor in New York City, our most populous city. And it's a big city, and boy, there's a lot of crime there. It's amazing that every day everybody isn't murdered in New York City. But the day is young. Amazing stuff. Yesterday there was a train derailment at Pennsylvania Station in downtown Manhattan, midtown Manhattan. And the first question you got to ask, did the train derail because so many people were thrown in front of the train by crazy mentally ill homeless people? Because that's pretty much the book on them. All right, we hadn't quite wrapped up with Kamala, with her genius. God, she's a genius. Being fluffed by NBC fake news is Stephanie Ruhle from the DNC steno pool. Let's go to soundbite number 9, numero 9, as the Democrats like to say. And here is Stephanie Ruhle with her close personal friend Kamala Harris. And you'll be surprised to learn that everything that is broken about, they love this term, the broken border. They love that. Now, I don't know how many decades you guys have to be in charge before you start taking responsibility for what you have done. But again, it's like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? We just don't know because we haven't reached that number of years or decades yet. Kamala Harris and her close friend, Stephanie Ruhle.
We do have a broken immigration system.
It's broken.
And it needs to be fixed.
Fix it.
And if we take a step back,
you're in charge.
Months ago, some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress came together with others, proposed a border security bill. Donald Trump got word of the bill, realized it was going to fix a problem he wanted to run on, and told him to kill the bill.
Lie. Absolute lie. The Democrats poisoned the bill with a bunch of crazy, insane projects that they knew would kill the bill, so they would have that idiot talking point that this maroon could go on television and prattle about, even though she really doesn't understand what's going on. She spent time in the Senate, but I don't think she understands it. And Democrats send people there based on their race and their gender because, what is it? Oh, they're racists. That's the thing. So that's a big lie. I could go through the bill with you and just drop the things that the Democrats inserted into the bill, knowing that they would, well, either we get everything we want in this bill, or we condemn the Republicans for voting against it and killing the bill. And then we can blame them for everything that is happening at the border and all the rapes and murders and the gangs and the looting and the mayhem. Because that's what they do. They're in politics. They're not in government. They're in politics. And somehow they all get rich. Just amazing. Stephanie Ruhle then went on after she did her big interview with Kamala, and there are no follow-up questions. And you may remember President Trump was fact-checked again and again and again during the debate on ABC fake news with those fake reporters, right? David Muir and that woman that nobody knows. And they fact-checked him in real time. Every time he said something, they jumped into fact-checking. But no fact-checking Kamala Harris. But Stephanie Ruhle doesn't know anything about the news. She doesn't follow the news. She doesn't know what was in that phony, corrupt immigration bill that the Democrats deliberately sabotaged for their own political gain. But the news media is fine with that because they're part of the cabal. That's the thing, and they're all dating. So Stephanie Ruhle then went on another show on MSDNC to promote her interview with Kamala, and she went on with Nicole Wallace, who used to pretend to be a Republican, and now she gets paid to be a Democrat, and integrity is in short supply in America today. So went on but Stephanie Ruhle made Nicole Wallace's face turn into liquid, into goo, when she dared to say that Kamala Harris was not actually answering any of the questions that were asked, but just going into these, pre-scripted platitudes that go nowhere.
Here's what's a little tricky. she doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from, to expand the child tax credit and do all the things she wants to do? And she says, we just have to do it. And that's great, and that's a campaign promise. But the issue is, if it means we're just going to borrow again, then what we're doing is we're just never addressing the deficit. And back in the days when you were a proud Republican, debts and deficits mattered.
Ah, remember that? That's true. No, debts and deficits don't matter anymore. Hence, where are we? $35 trillion. If we started paying off the national debt at $1 a minute, it would take more than 1 million years to pay off the national debt. But pay no attention to that, honestly. Just extraordinary. Extraordinary stuff. Now, President Trump, he was in Mint Hill, North Carolina. Mint Hill, North Carolina. And he had a rally there, and there were a lot of nice people there, normal people. They're on our side. They're on the side of the United States of America. And President Trump talking about tariffs and then there are countries that, like Iran, for example, that are plotting and scheming and paying people and moving people to assassinate President Trump because, and again, big topic of conversation in my world yesterday is, will President Trump make it to Election Day? And I got to say, and I don't even have to bring it up. People are bringing it up all over the place because it's a very dangerous world out there for Donald Trump. Donald Trump in Mint Hill, North Carolina, talking about tariffs.
I'm imposing tariffs on your competition from foreign countries that have ripped us off, which stole all of your businesses and all of your jobs years ago and took your businesses out, so that now they won't be able to compete with North Carolina. All of your furniture makers are going to come back bigger and stronger and better than ever before. This is why people in countries want to kill me. They're not happy with me. It's a risky business.
Risky business, and that's kind of a fun movie, too, Risky Business. North Carolina furniture. It's true, North Carolina's famous for being home to a great many furniture makers. In fact, I have numerous pieces of North Carolina furniture in our home, 2 couches I can think of off the top of my head, and more. Used to buy from this place on 14th Street that's no longer there. And I think everything they had came out of North Carolina. Trump making fun of, and this is sexist and racist if you listen to the Democrats, and then they abort 40% of the black population and give out awards for it. But it's sexist and racist to make fun of Kamala for her phony claim that she worked at McDonald's. But President Trump is going to do something about that.
We don't want to hear Kamala's fake promises, even something like she worked very long and hard hours over French fries at McDonald's. It was a lie. She never worked at McDonald's over the hot French fries. I think I'm going to a McDonald's in 2 weeks, actually, and I'm going to work the French fries because I will have worked longer and harder at McDonald's than she did if I do that even for a half an hour.
Even for a half an hour, I will have worked longer and harder at McDonald's than I got to tell you. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. All right, let's see. The McDonald's thing, I think that's a lot of fun. And I do, and I don't want to, I've tried to avoid talking about this over the last year and more. But I have talked about it from time to time, about the danger that President Trump is in. And now we know about an Iranian plot, really 2 Iranian plots. And I talked about it a bit yesterday or the day before yesterday with all these things leaking out. Is our federal government, our deep state, our permanent bureaucracy, are they kind of tilling the soil, preparing the battlefield with all of this information, which may turn out to be misinformation or disinformation or even truthful information that is being trotted out for political purposes. But I was out with my pal Randy last night. We were having a couple of beers. Who runs the Chris Plant store? Go to the Chris Plant store. There are great things there. And we were talking, and at one point, the conversation went to President Trump's safety and security. And we're at a bar in D.C., so we're speaking softly, discreetly, And Randy said, isn't it amazing that we're actually having this conversation in the United States of America in 2024? and concern about the FBI and the Justice Department, the intelligence community. The Secret Service is up on Capitol Hill in a House hearing right now, answering questions about one of the assassination attempts. And we're in a very treacherous place, a very, very uncertain place. And I think everybody knows it. If you follow the news, you know it. And if you don't follow the news, you probably feel it in your gut that things have gotten so weird. But it was a big topic of conversation last night and yesterday when I was elsewhere, not at the bar, and with different people. But back to President Trump in North Carolina yesterday. And if you can get your furniture from North Carolina, it's a good idea. Great tradition. President Trump yesterday.
Kamala goes to work every day in the White House. Families are suffering now. So if she has a plan, she should stop grandstanding and do it. Just do it. You have a few months left. Do it.
Got a few months. Yeah, do something. Legislate. Stand up for something. Push for it. No, but it's all about a promise for, years from now, I'll do something for you as long as you reward me now before I do anything. It's the biggest lie ever told. It's like, the greatest story ever told, the story of Jesus in the Bible. This is the biggest lie ever told. It's their boy Gurgle. They love that Gurgle guy. Amazing stuff. President Trump yesterday, again with the well-publicized Iranian threat, the plot to assassinate President Trump. And then, should anything happen, let's say this weekend, then all the news media will say, well, the federal government, the Department of Homeland Security, or the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the ODNI, briefed the Trump campaign about the threat from Iran, and it won't matter what happens. The news media has got their built-in talking points all ready to go because the federal government has issued these built-in talking points. Amazing. President Trump on the Iranian terror threat.
If I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. We're going to blow it to smithereens. You can't do that.
Smithereens.
And there would be no more threats. There would be no more threats. But right now, we don't have that leadership.
No, we most certainly do not have that leadership. And then making fun of Kamala. The big corporations and billionaires are going to buy our way out of everything.
They call it the tax queen because she's a big tax raiser.
Tax queen.
Is demanding a 33% tax hike on all domestic production. That means those companies are leaving. Kamala Harris is a one-woman economic wrecking ball.
Wrecking ball. She's the Miley Cyrus of government. Isn't that amazing? And I love Less Than Zero, another good movie from many years ago.
When Kamala speaks about the border, her credibility is less than zero. I hope you're going to remember that on Friday when she tells you about the border. Ask her just one simple question. Why didn't you do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do it 4 years ago?
Yeah, why didn't you do it? The news media will never ask that because they won't have a chance. And if they ask her anything, she'll give some rambling, babbling answer about her neighbor's lawns or something, and the news media will applaud and then vote for her. Did you know that left untreated, AFib, atrial fibrillation, can increase your risk of stroke and heart failure? Of course you knew that. AFib runs in families. You might know that, too. So if someone in your family has, afibrillation, heart issues, stroke issues, you have a higher chance of having these problems, too. That's why you should check out the KardioMobile Personal EKG by AliveCor. FDA cleared to detect atrial fibrillation, AFib. It's a pocket-sized EKG device that gives you 6 views of your heart. 6 views of your heart. It's quite extraordinary. It's tiny. It's about as big around as a Band-Aid. It can go in your pocket, in your purse, in your luggage, wherever you're going. It's incredibly easy to use. You can take your medical-grade EKG right from your smartphone in just 30 seconds and easily share the accurate EKG data with your doctor, with your loving spouse, with whoever you'd like. This month is AFib Awareness Month, which is better than a lot of other theme months. I like this AFib Awareness Month. It could actually involve health. So it's the perfect time to manage your heart health. And for a limited time, Cardia Mobile is giving 20% off to all my listeners, and that means you. All you have to do is go to cardia.com, Cardia.com, or go to Amazon and use the code 20PLANT, 20PLANT, Plante, and you're going to get 20% off your Cardia Mobile 6L device. It's a beauty. I've got it at home. Sponsored by AliveCore, Inc. Yes, sir. Yeah, President Trump, he's bringing it. And he's talking about Iran. And I got to tell you, that we're going to smithereens. The Iranians are looking up the word smithereens. And when they find out, they're going to say, oh, and then, maybe that'll change their behavior. Maybe not, but certainly Joe Biden and Kamala are not going to change their behavior. Not by a long shot. Well, the Democrat mayor of New York has been charged now with a great many crimes, and it looks like he's facing the death penalty. It could be the gas chamber for him. He lots of bribes that he's accepted from multiple foreign countries. Now, why does he get in trouble for that and the whole Biden family doesn't? I guess, he got the wrong job. He needed to get a federal job. He's been charged, indicted in New York, the mayor of New York, Democrat Eric Adams, with a whole bunch of things, and accepting bribes, solicitation of contribution from foreign national, and solicitation of contributions by foreign nationals. Hey, contribute to my, and you got bribery and conspiracy. You got all kinds of stuff because you know how Democrats are. Crooked and racist. We just had our Democrats are racist segment. Now, coming up, I'll have all the details for you on Democrats are crooked. Our Democrats are crooked segment, which dovetails nicely with Democrats are racist, don't you think? It's the Democrat Party. They're looking for your vote, and you get to choose. It is a time for choosing.